Sup everybody, this is Karak with ACG, the Bearded Shaman of Game, and bringing you a review of a game from a way back series that is now returned from the dead. Remember that first time you grabbed your stomper from your sibling and smashed the absolute crap out of theirs while screaming like Godzilla? So do the makers of Carmageddon Max Damage, a PS4 and Xbox One remake of the hilariously titled Carmageddon Reincarnation for the PC, which, even with patches, pretty much did no such thing. Carmageddon as a title has come and gone a few times from the gaming industry. Well, today it's back in all its race car racing, demolition, pile-up goodness, now with more juicy pedestrians. The game series originally was based on the 1975 movie Death Race 2000 with actors such as Sylvester Stallone and of course David Carradine before he was One Night in Bangkok. Here in the series, it's much less who you are versus what you drive. So grab a car, upgrade it with spikes and razor blades and chainsaw rims, and go out and try to win a race, destroy everyone else's vehicles, or hit every pedestrian. If there's one thing Carmageddon has, it's options for winning. As always, if you like the video, maybe subscribe. So here's the review for Carmageddon Max Damage. Thank God for California insurance laws, Death Race 2016, and every boy's childhood dreams of gluing razor blades to his Matchbox collection. Graphics are up first. Wow. This has not been the greatest week for titles making the jump from PC to consoles, and man, does this game show why. From the questionably dodgy frame rate and frame timing to the hilariously poor camera systems this game has, and the fact that in many places, good texture work just seems to have been completely absent. Sadly, it looks like once again the Sith Lord Goodenoughicus has snuck in and dark force-choked an entire development team. No matter what Max Damage is doing, it does not look that good. Now, don't get me wrong, there's one or two times when I took my sharpened, metal-encrusted rally cart into snow drifts, seeking out my enemy, where I thought, yeah, this actually looks okay, but that soon died under a tidal wave of bad fire effects, low polygon models for pretty much everything, and some really, really shoddy design. Everything from the terrain to the architecture to the vehicles looks bland, though the vehicles can be outfitted with an assortment of armor and weaponry that does spice them up a bit. But it's very telling to me that seeing monster trucks with spikes all over them didn't get much of a response from me other than noticing that it was decidedly lacking in detail. Texture clarity is downright awful in many places, and you have to overlook a good deal to see the good here. And that's when you're sitting still, because when you're driving, the absolute dearth of filtering makes it look like many locations are various versions of aged cottage cheese from fresh to, oh look, the new episode of Friends is on. But there's some good mixed in here. For example, the cars have the structural integrity of an old, dusty waffle, just powdering into separate pieces if someone accidentally leans in their direction. And that looks cool, and it fits with the game for sure. With bumpers and hoods and engine parts and oil squirting everywhere and half a car tops flying around like a car version of Poltergeist, without any shadow of a doubt, the best part of this is the damage on the cars, though sadly, depending on the race type and players, you may not see much of it. Also, some of the effects are well done depending on the locations, and the sun reflecting off a crumpled up car hood that just ate an entire cheerleader squad doesn't look half bad. Sadly, that does leave the other half. As a package, I'd say honestly it is rather poor. As an approach on all fronts, it just doesn't really hit that many cylinders, though it does have a couple kudos for some excellently crunchable car damage. Sound, music, and voice.
Checkpoint.
And sound is up first. This is the reason why the word adequate was created. Whether you're dropping the hammer on a four-wheeler Corvette monster truck or falling onto the roof of someone's Astrovan, the crumple of steel and breaking into the world around you sound pretty good here. At times, though, it can get pretty muddy, and you will find yourself fighting for just the right mix of the audio layers, including music, and still sort of finding out that it's a bit wonky. I'd say pretty average. Music. Yeah, so this is like Pretend Fear Factory. Let's just call them Mayhem Manufacturer. Actually, who am I kidding? These songs are done by Maximum Sexy Pigeon and more. Now, to be honest, this was a better soundtrack than I originally thought it would be. While a mix of dubstep with end-of-life metal wasn't what I expected, it also wasn't half bad. There were no standout tracks, and certainly a couple that sounded like instruments had all come alive and attempted ritual suicide. But in all honesty, it was pretty okay and pretty fitting for what's going on, which is a bunch of people trying to basically kill each other without getting out of their cars. It's not that surprising looking at the other soundtracks of the past titles either. I say it's okay. Voice. Almost none, so let's move on. Gameplay. Basically, this is as simple as it gets. You play in a career, free mode, or multiplayer, with career unlocking major things like tracks as you progress. Now, to progress really depends on the race type, as there are a good number, with some concentrating on one aspect of the anarchy more than, say, the other, and a seriously impressive number of tracks. No lie, I actually thought the damn game had looped back to the starting of the track list. If anything, the game has you covered in. It's places you can get your California Bad Driver moments on. Now, by progressing, you unlock various pimp parts for your vehicles, like new rims, paint jobs, and of course, killing items. Basically, it's not just against the cars that this war has been waged. Oh no, it's against the strippers and wheelchairs and randomly placed cheerleader pedestrians too. And here, killing them is just as worthy of a winning score as anything. It really doesn't matter whether you're driving around on a stadium field, mowing down Muffy and her band of chicks trying to bring it on and sending them into the air ragdoll style, or just driving around the course trying to beat everyone else to checkpoints. Max damage does have a good deal of things you can do. And that doesn't even include the atypical expected power-ups you can get, as any good Carmageddon fan knows dropping landmines is how you make friends. Multiplayer worked pretty well, and it was a solid bag with games and options being there, but honestly players being lean due to the release schedule. But once you got in, lag was minimal and carnage was maximum. The real issue here is the game is absolutely rife with problems. First, the game controls like the cars are sticks of butter you throw on a hot iron and lightly suggests to move around. No shit, cars can lose traction at less than 15 miles an hour on pavement. It was never ever dialed in. Now here's the thing. For you Mario Kart fans, or fans of, well, cars that control like butter, you're in luck, because this is the game for you. But if you're expecting any kind of finesse in the control, my god, look elsewhere. And even I, as a fan of rally and looser style titles, felt that this one was just too loose. In addition, the camera is absolutely terrible. If not forgetting settings, it's rebounding off the geometry constantly, like it's diving to read the tip monitor at an amateur webcam. And I'm not sure why a dev would ever allow you to adjust the camera out, knowing their entire game isn't prepared for it. No transparencies used, just a bouncing, jiggling camera like it's just happy to be included in the ride. One thing a game like this needs is a camera that can handle demolition derby style driving, which is a good deal of tight turns backing up and escaping the inevitable steel box death hug. This fails spectacularly, fighting its desire to show you the direction you're going with random pieces of scenery all around the game, at times inducing a dancing camera that quite literally has no clue what it's trying to do. Also, the game did have a couple annoying bugs. Resetting your car is the X button on the Xbox, but randomly hitting it would sometimes throw you super deep into the camera mode, with settings going all haywire consistently. This was tested with various controllers to make sure it wasn't that. Lastly, the AI. This is the only game that I have currently on record that failed almost every AI test. Sit and drive into walls? Check. Idle doing nothing until player interaction? Check. Getting completely fucking lost? Check. Absolutely losing its mind during races and trying to drive up the side of a building continually? Check. It's terrible. And that flatly is half the battle for a bash 'em up racer for me. I do not expect them to be amazing, but sitting there driving straight into a wall or letting me win every single race on any difficulty by, you know what, basically just getting ahead of them and actually racing is not what I expected from this title. Terrible AI. Now, if you're just solid multiplayer, then who gives a shit about the AI, right? Also, that does mean that gamers who like easier titles or are just going to race against friends may enjoy this, and that is absolutely their prerogative. It's something to actually be remembered. Now, all that being said, there is a lot of game here, and for Carmageddon fans, if you like driving around, smashing the hell out of other cars, and tearing shitshot over a randomly placed group of scientists, this is probably the game for you. Fun factor. Actually, yeah, it's pretty fun. Nothing extraordinary, but smashing full force into another car and watching it explode gives me a little Burnout Paradise feel every single moment. Also, there is more than enough to unlock, and while the first series of cars lacks any imagination at all, the later ones do the game a service, and I think there's some awesome vehicular homicide just waiting for you to be able to engage in. But as a whole, I would say it was more fun than its package really suggested. So I rate games on a buy, wait for a sale, rent, or never touch it rating scale. This is a rent. It doesn't run, look, or play well enough to say it's worth full price, and even say $20, $15 might be stretching it in its current form, especially with the god-awful AI in some races. But if you want to try it out, you can maybe bargain bin it, or if you want to try it out because you're never going to play against the AI and you're just going to go multiplayer, well then, you know what? You're going to get a fairly shoddy looking but somewhat fun demolition racing style game. It doesn't lack for trying. It lacks for succeeding. So anyway, that's it for me. I hope you guys liked the reviews. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Maybe check out the Patreon. Maybe check out Reddit. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. And as always, peace out and enjoy the rest of the end of your week.